voices shouting through the night. Static hum that shakes the ground. Rift Nation rising loud, profound. Feel the fire, feel the fight. We're the shadows in the night. Crashing waves, we take the stage. Unleash the fury, turn the page. Steel strings scream the truth we bring. Echoed chaos, hearts that sting. Electric veins that feed the roar. Harder, faster, crave for more. Dust and sparks ignite the air. Shattered silence, do we dare? Tidal force, relentless stream. We're the edge, we're the dream. Feel the fire, feel the fight. We're the shadows in the night. Crashing waves, we take the stage. Unleash the fury, turn the page. Rift Nation, hold the line. In the chaos, we align. Through the storm, through the pain. We're the anthem in your veins. Feel the fire, feel the fight. We're the shadows in the night. Crashing waves, we take the stage. Unleash the fury, turn the page. Rift Nation, hold the line. In the chaos, we align. Through the storm, through the pain. We're the anthem in your veins.
The engine is still stopped.
For launch, GC, go. Guidance, go. Fido, go. Prop, go. GNC, go. Max, go. Eagle, go. Ecom,
Go pending final steps to cabin link check.
2, 1.
Is there anyone here that would like to communicate with us? Can you give us a sign?
Welcome to the Rift Nation Network, the RNN, putting a slide in your glide and a dip in your hip. Welcome to the mothership, the home of the travelers of the universe. With shows throughout the week, you can find us at Instagram, Twitch, Facebook, YouTube, Spotify, and more. Everything you could want, everything you could need right here, right now. From the paranormal to the supernatural, from comedy to the spiritual. And now, your featured show. Shall we begin?
It's showtime, folks!
Podcast may contain material that some listeners may find sensitive, offensive, or disturbing. We strive to create respectful and informative content, but topics discussed may include mature themes such as violence, explicit language, or controversial subjects. Triggering content including discussions related to mental health, trauma, or other sensitive issues. Explicit language, occasionally our guests or hosts may use strong language. While we aim to handle these topics with care and empathy, we encourage listeners to exercise discretion. If you find any content distressing, consider skipping or seeking support. Remember that this podcast is not a substitute for professional advice. If you need assistance, please consult a qualified expert.
Good evening, friends. How are you? Happy Wednesday. My name is Joni Skinner, and we are streaming live tonight from the Rift Nation Network. We are streaming live on Facebook and YouTube. So welcome. Welcome every True Crime Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. I am a forensic astrologer where I work with forensic astrology, true crime, mysteries, the missing, cold cases, homicides, and we utilize forensic astrology to look for clues and to provide mapping for search and rescue and law enforcement. I'm your host every Wednesday evening on the Rift Nation Network. I hope y'all are doing well. And if you are new to the chat, and new to the show, please come on in, introduce yourself. I would love to, we love to have our new folks join us. And as always, after a show too, you can always PM me. People do PM me after certain shows, and we do get family members that PM me and say, thank you for spotlighting my loved one's case or bringing some light to that. Social media is such a powerful tool for the missing and those that are with cold cases. It gets new eyes. And what I have noticed, it's so odd this year, and I always look up to what's happening in the skies with regular astrology and look at the true crime scenario. We are seeing so many cold cases, and it's not cold cases from 5 and 6 years ago. We are going back into the 1990s, and we are not only with the breakthrough in DNA, with the family genealogy, but for example, the case we're doing tonight, one of the, I guess you would call her a witness, perhaps. She's up in her 80s now. And she had to get information off of her chest that she knew regarding this case and went to the PI. So this brought some new light into Jodi's case. I remember this case when it happened. Now, back in 1995, of course, we didn't have internet. We only had the news. But this case, her case, Jodi was an afternoon or was a morning newscaster. It made national news. I remember this well. I remember this case. So it's good to see this, good for their families. It's just wonderful. So I love seeing this happen. And we're not even usually around eclipse time. We see cold cases come back to light. So it's good to see it. Hello, chat. How are you tonight, my friends? I hope y'all are doing well. And of course, I can't get the chat to scroll properly. I don't know why. And Mercury's not even in retrograde yet. It's well, about a couple weeks away. We have Mercury retrograde in a couple weeks. I gotta blame it on I gotta blame it on Mercury. I gotta blame it on retro, y'all. Hello, chat. Let's check the chat and then we'll get started. I've got some really good info too on other cases. Hello, Miss Lee. Hello, Miss Kathy. I hope y'all are doing well tonight. Hello, Miss Kathy. Hello, Miss Lee. I hope are you all in storms right now? Hello, Miss Denise. How are you? I hope you guys are doing well. Okay, I see it now. Hello, Keith. Thank you so much for getting us shared out. Miss Rowe, I see you. Okay, here we go. I've followed this case for a long time. Glad you're covering. Wait till you see this. Roe, wait till you see this. Roe, and of course, y'all know this. She is a phenomenal forensic astrologer. And whenever we see, usually, especially a child, if a child goes missing, we are like PMing each other like crazy. It's almost like you pull up the astrology and want the event chart on your phone when a child goes missing, because we do the charts and then we're mapping it, don't we, Ro? We do. But I hope y'all are doing well. No storms in PA. That's good. Yeah, Keith, beginning of the pre-shadow period. Pre-shadow? I don't if we have pre-shadow, post-shadow, shadow, then Mercury would be in retrograde all the time. Mercury would be in retrograde all the time. Hello, Miss Jennifer. How are you? Excited to hear about Jodi's case. You know what, y'all? I remember this case when it happened. This, I think, was one of the first times that we really, and I could be wrong about this, but if I recall, this was one of, we had the children missing back in the early 90s, but this case was such a brutal abduction. We knew that Jodi had been abducted, and I'll show you all the clues and everything. But I think this case really frightened women all over the country because of how it happened and how quickly it happened. And Jodi was was a wonderful very, very popular figure in newscasting. Now, back during this time, our newscasters were our lifelines. They were our lifelines. We trusted them with everything. Walter Cronkite, when I was a little girl, we trusted the news. We trusted 60 Minutes. George Clooney, his dad in this area, in the Cincinnati area, his father was a broadcaster. And we just built such a trust with our newscasters back during that time frame. And she was very popular, very pretty. She was very personality plus. So everybody loved her. So this struck such a chord. And the particular gentleman that gave out this new information was the PI that's been working on her case for decades. And I'll give you just an update on that. As you can see, someone came forward to him, like I said, that was up in her 80s. And they had persons of interest back at that time. And back then, the people of interest were being tailed by law enforcement, which it happens now too. But he got so aggravated at that. This particular witness who was dating him, he was so mad. He was telling the witness, I didn't do it. I didn't do it. I didn't do it. And then he stopped and looked at his girlfriend and said, I did it. So it was basically a confession. So the PI collected all the evidence from the witness. She had pictures, she had times. She has a lot of evidence that they have now turned over to law enforcement. So wouldn't that be wonderful if this case could be solved? The PI is still under the impression that this was a jealous type of a stalker that abducted her. And the chart, wait until Ro, you see this chart using Kirsty's book. He does. He is one of the PI said he is one of the persons of interest, but we do not know who it is yet. This just broke last week. So I thought, oh, I'm going to pull it up because I think it's getting ready to be broken. I think they're going to work on this. Now, the lady is up in her 80s that is the witness. So is the person of interest, has he passed away? I don't know. There was another person of interest that happened to be one of her neighbors, and they were dear friends. This particular gentleman passed a polygraph. He was named as a person of interest. He had alibis. He was the last person to technically see her. They lived in the same apartment complex. He has since passed away too. But again, he was very forthcoming with the law enforcement, but he still was a person of interest. So let's get into it. Oh, I've got a couple of announcements. Today, the House Oversight Committee, and like Denise down here in the States, this is a bipartisan. Both representatives from either side are in what we call an oversight committee. They have been working on the Epstein case for the past year. They've interviewed so many people. They interviewed the Clintons. They interviewed Lex Wexner. They interviewed the DA that put together the case and arrested Epstein back in the 90s. They've investigated past DOJs. Today, Bill Gates was interviewed. Now, the last week and a half, Jeffrey's personal assistant for 10 years. I'm waiting for that transcript. But from what we can gather on Bill Gates's interview today, and he gave the press, and he also gave a copy out, posted his opening statement. He said he met Epstein in 2011. They had a relationship as friends for 3 years until 2013. It was in respect with philanthropy work. But he said he unfortunately was unfaithful in his marriage, and he believed that Epstein was using this info of infidelity against him to pressure him back into their friendship, and he cut off all ties with him. He has never been to his ranch. He has never been to the island, nor has he ever been, let's see, ranch, the island. I forget where else he said. So we will see. Bill Gates has admitted to the affair that he had with the Russian, I think she was a chess player, very famous gal. She was not underage. There's no proof that he did anything with anyone underage. There's just no proof. So we'll wait and get his transcript and see what happened. We'll see. I don't know. We'll see. I hope Gates goes down. He's being charged in at least 2 other countries. Yeah, with the vaccine stuff and the medical situations. Yeah. But for here, I don't know. We'll have to wait and get the transcripts. I can't wait to see what the committee puts together this report. So that's going on. We also have a case by a young student who was brutally unalived in the campuses in North Carolina, Chapel Hill. Her name was Faith Hedgepath. That we will be covering her trial. The trial will be coming up soon. Now, I've worked that case for decades. So, just we'll say prayers out to her family and her father. I love her father. So that trial will be coming up. And I think that's about all the true crime news I've got. But we'll keep up with that. If anybody else wants to add anything in about Gates, or if they heard anything from today, or Faith's case, we'll bring that up and look at it right before her trial. But here is a picture of Jodi, and her name is so hard to pronounce, Huisentruit. Jodi Huisentruit. She was the morning news anchor in Mason City, Iowa. She was very, very popular. Very popular. That was another great picture of her. 1995. Now, this is a picture, and these are all the police photos. She worked early in the morning, had to be at work very, very early. So one of her coworkers called her because she was usually in around 4 to 6 a.m. in the morning, and she had overslept. So one of her coworkers called her and said, "You've overslept, get in here." And she's like, "I'm on my way. I will be there." She answered her phone. Okay, so we're going to picture this time at around 4:15, 4:30 a.m. in the morning. She gets up, is running to her car to get to work because she's overslept. And you can see the door, and you can see her little Miata. And from her apartment to her car are 12 steps. It's not far. It's not far at all. As you can see where she parked her car, walked right out the door. This is where the abduction occurred, 4:30 in the morning, right? So here again are the police checking everything. Now, I want you to notice something. Look at the guy by the light pole. They found a palm print. Was it anybody's? We don't know. On that pole, on that lamp. Okay, so this is what was found outside of her. Oh, okay, so long story short, she missed her show at 6 a.m. Her producer she didn't show up. So her producer had to do the show. After that, they tried calling, no answer. So her producer called the police for a wellness check. This is what the police found by her car. So there is a red shoe outside of her car. Now, this was out around 4:30 in the morning. Her car key that was bent. A hairdryer. She had her hairdryer. Now, this is very important. You can see drag marks from one of her shoes. So she was drag marks. And this is a very small woman, about 5'2", 100 something, about 100 pounds. So here we are with the clues. This is what happened at 4:30 in the morning. Now, people also reported a scream about 4:30 in the morning. A scream at 4:30 in the morning. Red shoe. Yes, a red shoe. Keith said red shoe. Yes. Red shoe. We wore red shoes all the time back in the 90s. This was 1995. People wore red shoes all the time. And we wore spectator shoes too. Spectator shoes and red shoes. So that's her red shoe. Yeah, we did. We wore spectator shoes too. They were the big thing where you had white in them, or they could be tan and blue, tan and black. She was never found. Jodi was never found or recovered. And this was an extensive search. This was extensive police work. This was on June 27th, 1995, 4:15 to 4:30 a.m. She has never been located. Of course, they have had persons of interest. Like I said, one of them was her friend that lived in the apartment complex with her. And the night before, she had gone to a golf outing. And she was going to have to change her phone number because she was getting odd phone calls. So, and she also had stated that someone had been following her. Okay, before this occurred. But I don't think that's so unusual for people that are in the public eye like that. I could be wrong. Kind of creepy. So I did the chart. And Ro, if you see anything and you want to add anything to this, I'll blow this up a little for y'all. There, make it bigger. Let me know. Okay. If you see anything in here, let me know. Now, look at this, you guys. You look at this chart. As you know, in forensic astrology, we look to the first house. That's the victim. The victim is the first house. So that's Gemini is ruling that house. What are Gemini's ruling planets? Mercury. Jodi is in the first house. See where I marked her and I highlighted it. The moon is always a co-ruler, right? Co-ruler, the moon. So we've got everything that would represent Jodi is all in the first house as the ascendant, correct? Whenever we have a packed first house, this is when something is right on the ascendant. It's right in front of him. So the attack, we know, of course, look at the clues. Everything happened right in front of Jodi. And it's all there. Okay? Now, we're going to look at the perp. The perp is always the 7th house. Sagittarius is in the 7th house. Jupiter rules Sagittarius in the 7th house. Now, what is so dynamic about this particular chart is, and you guys probably haven't heard this yet, but if you look at what I highlighted as yellow, that is called a yod. That skinny triangle. That's called a yod, or a finger of God in astrology. The apex, or the tip, where all of the energy goes to the moon, and that's Jodi. Look at one side of the yod is, guess what? The perp. The other side is Uranus, which is in it. That would be the attack, surprise, jumped. And it's a yod. What does a yod mean in forensic astrology? It's an unconscious trigger. It's odd energy that has pushed the perp over the edge. A yod means something that happened close to the home. I about fell out of my chair on that one. but we know that she was abducted right outside. And what's funny about this yod is Neptune is right next to this with Uranus. Uranus would be the attack. Make no mistake about that. Now, it's in the 8th house. The 8th house is the house of transformation or death. So, I'm not so sure she wasn't knocked out immediately at that in that area with this Uranus Neptune. And Neptune could be drugs, it could be mental illness, it could be camera, but they didn't have the cameras like they do now. But it is in aspect to Mars down in the 4th house, which is the home. So this was near the home. The attack, of course, we know it happened at the home. Now, what's very interesting is we've got Pluto in the 6th house. Okay, let's go around. First of all, we'll go around and read all of the scenarios with the chart. We looked at the 1st house, right? We know the 1st house. Okay. Venus is in the 1st house. That she may have trusted the wrong person. She's very attractive and friendly. Social settings, she became very vulnerable. The victim and the moon in the 1st house, the victim was very vulnerable. May have been seen right before the event, right before she was abducted. May have seen the person right before, and we know that they snuck up on her. Okay. The sun in the 2nd house. 2nd house is what we value. It can be money. Of course, it's abduction again. With the sun in the 2nd house, it denotes jealousy. Jealousy. Okay. 4th house, that's the home. She could be in a vacant lot. Victim is hidden underground with Mars. Victim is hidden underground. And we see that yod in there too. Hi, Miss Lois. How are you? Now, the 6th house, Pluto. Pluto is anytime we see somebody in the 6th house, and Ro even said it, that Pluto in the 6th on the 7th house cusp, guess what? We got a stalker. Stalker is written all over this chart, Ro. You know what else, Keith, was funny? Okay, no, I was thinking about her shoe. Never mind. Forget that thought. But 6th house, Pluto, there was danger in her everyday life. Someone near her home, the perp has watched over her near her at her home over a period of time. That's the ruler of the 7th house in the 4th, I think. I don't know. My bad, 6th, which is Pluto. Pluto. Unhealthy interest in her. This was somebody that it was work related, obsessive stalking, could have been in a hidden service type of role around her place of employment. Service positions that allowed access to her. This could have been from anybody from a maintenance person to anybody at the work environment that had an unhealthy interest in her, but had been following her and stalking her over a period of time. Someone near the home. So it was, they watched her around her home. She was very close. She lived very close to the station. But somebody that was, it was definitely in the sixth house, stalking. That could also, that's very work related. Obsessive stalking. Pluto is something that's done in power and obsessive energy. Now, in the seventh house, Jupiter in the seventh house, the perp was influential and very likable. People liked him. You know, when we think of perps, we always think that they're like some slimy guy, like creeping around, even gal. But, you know, sometimes they are right under our faces. Sometimes they're right under our faces. But perp Jupiter in the seventh house, likable. So then we move up to the eighth house, which is transformation or unaliving. Of course, shocking death, the attack could have been, you know, an unconscious type of a death. And we know that her foot was drugged. So was she knocked unconscious? That's in the eighth house. Okay. So there's a lot in this chart that speaks of in the work setting. I think, and or knew around the work setting where it could have been a worker, somebody that worked in the air, you know, at the station, somebody that she was very familiar with, that was had an obsession with her. We don't know. So I will be curious to see if they do make an arrest and they do call a person of interest, who this person may have been, and if indeed he knew her. Even if he didn't know her, he knew of her and was, like Rose said, stalking her. Anytime you see anything like that, Pluto sitting on the cusp of the seventh house, that was a stalker. And Pluto is obsessive power, obsessive. And she was overpowered. Look at that first house. So that's just kind of like the information on her chart. So I mapped it. Now we have to remember that this mapping goes back to, you know, this is a current day map. But so we're going back to 1995, where it could have changed. The geography could have changed a little bit. But look at all of those lines due east. Look at that batch of lines over east. I'm not saying that she could possibly be over in that eastern section, but boy, look at that. That's a good clump of lines that I would check all those areas. But again, we look at, where do I find the mileage? Look at the chart, and we look at what is called the ascendant degree, which is 18 degrees. And we look at the IC and the MC, which is the midheaven, the top of the chart. The IC is the fourth house. That's womb to the tomb. So that's the end of the matter, is the fourth house. So we can, you know, we looked at, I did 1.8 miles, could be 18 miles. It could be 180 miles. That's something we just don't know. I don't know, Lee. I don't know. But you know what? I bet I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know. Service, and you know, a mailman would fall into the category of a service type of an occupation. Anything that would be service oriented. Maybe a mailman. Maybe, what about a maintenance man at the apartments? What about you know, people at work, maintenance people at their work, people that she came into contact with, somebody that she would have recognized. Maybe not knew personally, but they knew her and was in. And sixth house would be your day-to-day routine, everyday living. So mailman would fall into that category. You're right. So this is the mapping There's that, all of those eastern lines in those areas. Now, I don't know if that area has grown. I'm sure it's grown up. And back then in 1995, I'll bet that was just, looks like farmland to me, or just agriculture. But look at all those lines, Ro. Look at that. I would check all those areas. And again, you can see, and what I like about this particular map, the wedges are very close together where you could go and check and look. That would be awfully hard though today, since this happened in 1995. But I'll bet there's something that they know that we don't know about directions and where this could possibly have been. And this again is one of her missing posters. They found her red, and she had a red Miata convertible in the parking lot. Personal items were scattered all around the vehicle. Witnesses indicate they heard a scream that morning. And they were looking for a white van. It's always a white freaking van, isn't it? It's always a white van, it seems like. Yes, need to go over that. Need to go over really well. Yeah, I like that area. And, by now they would know if a person of interest was in this particular area, or if they had, something that would lead them into that area. I would check out that area. But, we never know with forensic astrology what line will lead us to the missing, to someone's remains. We just never know. It could be. Oh, they are. I agree, Lee. They need to outlaw them. They are so creepy. I agree. They're creepy. Does anybody else have any other info that y'all would like to share about Jodi's case? I will stay on top of this, but I think I can't wait to hear if they say, well, we've kind of figured out who did it, or the witness came forward and we kind of know, because I would be curious to see how the chart commingled into who they have found. All of these years with unanswered questions. And the gentleman that was her neighbor, they went as far as to implicate him and put him in front of the grand jury on an indictment. And the grand jury did not indict. They just apparently didn't have a case against this man. Like I said, it was her friend, her very dear friend, and he had cooperated with them completely. And they did drop an indictment on him, and they never, ever could get him indicted because they just didn't have anything. They just didn't have the info on him. So the PI said that, okay, Kathy feels like the perp is still alive. I hope so, Kathy. Wouldn't that be great? I hope so. Her friend passed away of Alzheimer's. And so let's hope they get this guy. Let's hope they get the guy. Now, I did this chart. I wanted to show y'all. This is just such a horrific story. This just happened in California, where someone, a young man, was in his apartment and unalived his 10-year-old twins before taking his own life in an unaliving and a harming situation, the police say. We don't have a lot of the details. We know that he was in the home. The mother was in the home at the time this occurred. Can you imagine? Horrific. He attempted to point the weapon at her and discharged it. He missed her. She ran into another room, and that's when he unalived himself in the apartment. So I did a chart. I wanted to show you all, because we look at the charts and stuff and look at the difference between what we saw on Jodi's event chart with this particular event that occurred. And this just occurred. Okay. So the perps are all of our victims, right? Sagittarius. So we've got Jupiter. Look up in the 8th house, you guys. We've got the 8th house. We've got our victims. We've got the victims. We've got mom. We've also got dad up there as the perp. And Mercury is also children. Gemini in the 7th house is 2 people. Remember, it's a dual sign. Remember, Libra and Gemini are the dual signs that can indicate 2 people. What's funny is, and look in the orange, we've got mom in the home as the moon. Mom is always is a moon, and dad is always the sun. Look at that. Mom and dad are aspect in this event chart, in the chart. So we've got in the eighth house of transformation, we've got all the victims up in the 8th house. It's everybody. They are opposing Pluto. So he must have driven there. I don't know if he lived there or not, but that's the violence and the unaliving. And then we've got them all in the 8th house. Mars is hitting Pluto in the 6th house. And so if you look at this chart, you can just see how it unfolded, even down to the point of in the 8th house, we've got everybody's named. We've got the perp, we've got mom as Venus, we've got the children as Mercury, and the ruler of the 7th house of the perp is in there. So we've got victims with Jupiter, we've got mom, and then we've got Mercury, who would be dad. So it's crazy how this chart looked. And then we've got, like I said, we've got the moon in the 4th house. So that would have been in the home. And that's the victims as well. And if you see, like I said, it just all connects. And Uranus is really very potent in these charts, it seems like anymore. Yeah, it's just so unexpected. It's shocking. It's unexpected. It could be, it's any kind of a jump or surprise or trigger. Uranus is a trigger as well. But we've got Mars and Pluto too. But I thought, man, look at that. And they have not released any other information regarding this case. But again, we've got Neptune either on camera or mental illness, or it could be drugs. We just don't know. But look how this chart just played the whole situation out. Looked like he was mad at mom because Mars is connecting to the children and mom. Mars is. So it's crazy. But I wanted to show you guys just a different chart compared to Jodi's chart. How these charts they'll tell you a story. They tell the entire story. It's crazy. And one other little treat I wanted to show you guys, because this is something very, very special. coming up, and we'll do a show on this because this is, again, unprecedented, unseen, unknown in astrology. Again, you're going to hear a lot about this, especially if you follow astrologers, y'all. You're going to start to hear July, 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 July. Don't fall into the fear trap with July. Is it unknown? Yes. Have we ever seen this? According to my favorite astrologer, Rick Levin, no, we have never seen this. It's never been recorded in history. This is called a great sextile. It's called a pentacle. It's called a pentagram. This happens up in the skies around July 18th. You can see the star. So it's a star. Some people call it a Star of David, but I don't think it's a Star of David. I don't know. This is occurring with all of our outer planets, which is the collective. This is occurring with the moon coming in Libra, and Jupiter amplifying it is bringing it in too. This is July, mid-July, around the 18th, 19th. This is gigantic. We don't know. But you're going to hear a lot about this probably now until it happens. Don't fall into the fear trap because it's very, very, very well supported. There is kind of a tricky opposition in there with I think it's Jupiter and Pluto, which is, again, power struggles. It might be Pluto, Saturn. Now, I'm not sure. I think it's Jupiter. I'm not sure. But so don't get too worked up with this. We'll talk about it as the date gets closer and closer. I'm going to talk about it on Carrie Lynn's show, Spirit Switchboard, 6 o'clock Eastern on Friday night. So we're going to talk about the astrology of July. So if you're interested in just personal astrology, I'll be on Carrie Lynn's show, Spirit Switchboard, 6 p.m. on Friday. It's always fun to do a show with her because that's my friend, and we have such a good time, and we're just, life gets so crazy sometimes we just don't catch up enough. So we're going to do a whole show on July. It's going to be interesting. That's for sure. 4th of July in the United States chart. Again, I think a lot of it has to do with the financial system. 4th of July, new financial system, I think, is coming, whether it be electronic. I don't know. Nobody knows. So we'll have to see. We'll have to wait and see. It's going to be very, very interesting. We've got Pluto is going to be opposing Jupiter. That's very, very interesting. That is very, very interesting. The last time this occurred in Leo and Aquarius was in 1789, 1790, 1789, 1790. So there were some pretty historical things that went on there. So it's going to be interesting. So did y'all have any other info on any of these cases? You guys got anything you want to share with me before we say goodnight? Does anybody want to share anything? Oh, that's great. Yeah, absolutely. We have fun on that show, don't we, Denise? That show goes by so fast, and we're just going to do simple astrology, nothing major, just a little bit of mundane astrology, more mundane, because these are all outer planets. This, to me, if you ever want to hear of people saying we've got a great awakening, you're looking at it right there. That's a great consciousness awakening. That is your great awakening. And I'm going to tie it into the age of Aquarius too, because I do believe, AI doesn't think we're in the age of Aquarius, but I do. we could be we're about 2,000 years off according to the science, but I'm not buying it. I think we're right there. Everything is happening in Aquarius. It's all Aquarius. And it's been pointed at that for a long, long time. So we might have our baby toe in Aquarius, the age of Aquarius, but it's the beginning. And I think that's why we're seeing so many patterns that we've never seen before. So many. Oh, I did. That's another thing. I did see that. You know, that sheriff. I need to keep my comments positive. But down in the Nancy Guthrie case, the creators that have been covering true crime creators were just out on the street, apparently. They were just out filming around the neighborhood, the street. And they arrested him. They were arrested for, the sheriff down there has never liked the fact that it got so much coverage. Oh, yeah, I will. He's under a lot of trouble, apparently. He's under a lot of scrutiny. Apparently in front of the commission and all this, in front of I don't know what he's in trouble for, but I'll look and see if we can find it. But I think what happened with him is it was just so odd the way I've never seen somebody do press conferences like he did. And it was just very, very odd. And he has not liked creators. He's one of these that doesn't believe that the influencers, which are mainly the young people, boots on the ground, they're doing what reporters used to do. Instead of sit behind a desk and have an opinion, they're going around as boots on the ground, these young kids. And they found out a lot of stuff that under his watch was missed. If you remember, Lee, Brian Enton and his film crew found the splatters on the front porch. Remember that? So the interview room has been having a lot of really good podcasts on this. And, Nancy Grace really gets fired up about she gets fired up about the sheriff. It's kind of funny. She just looked at a new case of a young man that went missing that I'm going to cover next week because it's a really interesting case. And it just happened with a young man that was on a film crew of somewhere. And I'm going to look that up, and we're going to do that one next week. Nancy Grace just showed it today. Yes, because you can see all the poop in chairs and couches in the desert. Oh, yeah, because they're going around and they are, the kids are going around, the creators, and they're searching. No one else has done any searching. He did not, they had all kinds of search and rescue people offer their services for Miss Guthrie. When have they done a big, huge, extensive search for her? Have they ever? Have they ever done a big search for Miss Guthrie? I don't think so. She's very upset. Well, I think that there's a lot of things that have come out about their area in Tucson that didn't come out with such a nice light. Yes, there are. And there's a pot, and Lee, around her house, they've got beautiful homes and it's a beautiful area, but there's still an element of crime that's in that area as well, like you say. And I think they didn't want that uncovered, and that's what I think that the creators were bringing to light. Just my opinion. But I think that's what happened there. I'll take a look at and see if I can find the sheriff's chart. He gets mad when people name him. He doesn't like YouTubers. I don't know why. They're good kid. They're good. They Brian Enton and JLR and those kids are good. They're good for cases. They solve cases. I don't get it. I think the kids are great. I think it's great to have the kids out there, boots on the ground, searching and helping with the missing. Better than what he was doing. Better than what he was doing. Remember the DNA that they found in the house? Where's the report on that? Where's that DNA? Remember the unknown DNA that they allegedly had found in the house? And we don't even know if that was true. He made a comment, and Chris from the was it? I forget which creator had said it. I can't remember. I don't think it was Nancy Grace, but somebody said, the sheriff in an interview said he has stopped communicating with the family. And I forget, maybe was it on the interview room? I can't remember, but it may have been. But someone made mention, when you stop speaking to the family, it's not a good sign. What does that mean? Or they look, who knows with this guy? This guy is a like JLR would say, wackadoodle. Who knows with that guy? Who knows? Her case was botched. It's a shame. It was botched from the beginning. Just because the sheriff didn't like the FBI, apparently, but now he's walking. I don't know if he's walking. He walks back on everything. He didn't like the FBI. Well, you get the FBI in there and their resources, and they had their resources handed to them on a silver platter with the FBI. So we all thank you guys so much for tuning in. Oh, thanks, Keith. You're more than welcome. Have a good week, everybody. And if you're not busy on Friday, tune in to Sherry Lynn's show, Spirit Switchboard. And like I said, we're going to be talking about astrology in July. It'll be a fun show. We always get off path of just the astrology too. We talk about all kinds of stuff. So it'll be fun. Oh, I have to go back to your Amy Eskridge chart. There's a podcast that I follow, had a whistleblower says she's running an underground lab in Alabama. Really? Really? Oh, you know what? PM me tomorrow, Denise, and remind me, and I'll email you the slideshow. I'll send you everything I've got. I'll send you everything. Nobody's ever seen the coroner's report. Isn't that odd? That's interesting. This is one of the missing scientists. That's fascinating. Oh, yeah, I'll listen to it tomorrow at work. That'd be great. And when you send it to me in the morning, just send it to me in the morning so I'll see it. And I will send you all the maps or the slideshow, because the chart will be on there. So dig into the chart, Denise, and let me know. Oh, you're welcome, Kathy. Well, you guys have a great week. And I'm going to cover the case that Nancy Grace just covered about the young man that's missing. That's another crazy case that's a little shady. So, and that's a young man that's missing right now. So we'll take a look at that next week. In the meantime, have a great week. Enjoy the month of June, because all the excitement in the skies starts to heat up in July. So enjoy June while we've got this little bit of a break and some peace and quiet. So enjoy that. Thanks so much for tuning in, everybody. Don't forget to hit the like button and share. Well, you already share, but hit the like button. And I will see you guys next week for another episode. Thank you. Take care.